Hi everybody, this is just a quick video overview of what you can expect to find if you download the resource pack for Learning Outcome B of the Unit 2 Developing a Marketing Campaign on the BTEC Level 3 Business Specification. So first of all, in terms of what you will get, it is all about content here, so we ensure that we cover every element of the spec. So you've got every single part of the Learning Outcome B specification covered in this, over 98 slides, and that is also supported by an activity workbook for students, which they'll be given individually. You can either print that or give them electronically if you're going to be using Teams or Google Classroom. So when you go into the download, what you'll have is a student workbook and the teacher PowerPoint. So 98 slides on the teacher PowerPoint, pure content, and then student workbook to support it with activities. So each student will put the name on that workbook, and then as you go through the PowerPoint, for example, you've got activity 1 there. If I just nip back over to the PowerPoint, activity 1 is featured just there. Activity 1 is all about identifying target markets. At this point, you've done a little bit of input. You now direct your students to their workbook, and then they can start typing their answers. So I believe the target market is, and you get the drift. So students can keep adding to this as they go along, and the beauty is during the learning outcome you can just keep checking it progressively every week, every couple of weeks if you like, and then you'll know exactly how far the students have got in this unit, and you can look right back at their progression over time, etc. And the great thing is, if anyone wants to come in and ask you as a teacher, how are your students getting on, you've got it all there. You can literally say, well, this is their workbook and this is where we're at in the PowerPoint, and as you can see, these are all the activities that are attempted, this is how much detail they've been putting in, etc, etc. So it should be really good for understanding where your students are, and also allowing your students to understand where they are during the learning outcome. Also, a very important point to note is that we've left both the workbook and the PowerPoint editable, because you may find that there's too much content, or you might find that you actually wanted a bit more content, or you've got some of your own content to add to this particular learning outcome. So therefore you can add to it, you can reduce it, you can add activities into the workbook, you can add activities and content into the PowerPoint as you see fit. But at the minute we've given you 98 slides and 22 activities, and as you get to the end of the learning outcome, you will find there are some end of learning outcome little activities, so like a learning aim B word scramble. So these are 10 key words from the actual learning aim, which they've got to figure out what they are. Then you've got a crossword which questions them on key terminology, then a word search where they've got to find key words from the learning outcome, and then also a Kahoot quiz to finish off. So hopefully that'll really help. And then just to make sure that they know where they're at, there's a specification checklist. So all they need to do at the end of the learning outcome is just to be able to explain each piece of terminology, and then tick to say when they're exam ready. You may want to also cross-check this to say, right, well, tell me why you think you know how a business would identify competition, or why it's important in market research to identify your competition. And it should just allow those conversations to happen naturally, and to allow you and the student to be confident that they are exam ready. And one final point to note is, if you get to a video in the PowerPoint, we do leave the YouTube link in the notes, but we also have it so it plays automatically. So when you go like this, it'll just take a minute to load depending on how quick your computer is, and then you'll be able to press play, and that should just make it a little bit easier to teach from. But you would need to enable content, it's called, on the presentation itself. But if that does fail, then it's just there for you. And in terms of answers for each activity, now with it being marketing, quite a lot of it is based on their own opinion, so there isn't really model answers for every task, but where they are applicable. So for example, I know there's some calculation tasks about mean, medium and mode, and averages and percentages. You've got the answers there with workings. So where it's deemed necessary and where there's a definitive answer, we've added those in as well. So I really hope that helps. If you've got any questions, then do get in touch with us on our Facebook or Twitter pages, or alternatively email us. It's business@twoteachers.co.uk. Okay, thank you everybody, and I hope it helps. Cheers, goodbye.